Hello everybody, today is yet another fragrance video and I had a lot of requests to film this one after my haul, and in my haul I've shown you that I have picked up Let's Settle This Like Adults in the Bedroom Naked by Kilian. This is one of the newest releases. It's a 2018 release, just very recently appeared on the shelves for purchase, and it is very surprisingly by Kilian. It's not a by Kilian fragrance, and they released this line. This is My Kind of Love line. My understanding is that they really tried to cater to common markets. They're a niche fragrance house and they are very well known for very particular kind of fragrances. They're niche, they're complex, they're incredibly expensive. I own some of these, and I own a full bottle of Phantom that came out fairly recently, and Black Phantom cost me a pretty penny. It was around 450 or 500 bucks for the fragrance. So their price point is generally extremely high, so that's why in my understanding they released this line. They really wanted to capture a different audience. They wanted to step down and do a mass market, which is still considered luxury because it's over $100 a bottle. It's I think 120 or 130 bucks a bottle. So they kind of stepped down, so to say, into that price point to try and capture a bigger audience, because honestly, there are not that many freaks out there who are going to drop 500 bucks a bottle for fragrance. So I guess they were considering that A, they wanted to bring their fragrances to a larger market, and B, of course, they're going to make a ton of money because they're so well known for their absolute luxuriousness. So they wanted to bring it down a notch and go mass market kind of for fragrance. That's kind of mass market for them. And try to sell as many as possible, I suppose. They're available on Sephora, which also tells me that they're going to try to push it, and try to make as much as possible on this particular line. Now, I have most of the line in small sizes, and I'm going to review all of them separately. Today is about adults, or Let's Settle This Argument Like Adults in the Bedroom Naked, which is a very long name, guys. I'll be referring to it as adults because I think that's what it's meant to be. There's a long name and adults is the short name. So this is kind of the premise of the collection, the premise of this particular release, and I want you to be aware of it because I want you to keep that in mind as I'm talking about the fragrance. Also, yes, I will be keeping in mind what I expect from Kilian, and obviously the cheaper, more affordable line is not going to be, I'm not expecting the same quality. I am just expecting a good fragrance, as I would expect of any fragrance house that releases the non-exclusive line. I still expect it to be quite good. I had extremely high hopes purchasing this fragrance, mostly because I'm such a fan of Kilian, and Kilian Hennessy really created quite a large scale, very popular brand of niche, beautiful, hand-picked, selected, really carefully edited fragrances, and I'm a fan of those. And I don't love a lot. I don't love enough of them to purchase a massive amount of these fragrances, but I was hopeful that perhaps they're going to bring the same premise, the same love and craftsmanship from their exclusive lines, maybe downgrade the ingredients a little bit, because obviously you just can't make the same quality, but perhaps have the same philosophy, the same approach towards formulating this more mass market line, and it being something very special. I do think that there's some scents in that line that are better than others. Unfortunately, even though I was so excited to wear it, after wearing this one in, I do not believe that this is anywhere near the usual Kilian quality. But remember, we're talking about two very different price points. The quality of the fragrance is really good, actually. It's not outstanding like what I kind of expected a little bit. Maybe my expectations were unfair. This is good quality. This stays nicely. It does migrate and change. It does turn into something quite powdery with time. So it's classified as woody powdery, but I don't think so. I think it's a fruity, sweet, gourmand scent that then becomes powdery with wear. It applies like a gourmand. This is a good solid like 3 out of 5 for me, honestly, because the wear time is good, the quality is decent. It does morph, which I like in a fragrance. Some people really like very linear fragrances. The way that the manufacturer describes Pyramid, they do say that they have citruses at the top. No, they do say they have green notes and fig in the heart. We'll talk about the fig. And then they said that their base consists of, you know, a bunch of woods, agar wood, cedar wood, things like that, wormwood. They have a bunch of vanilla in here. They have orris root. So let's settle on what exactly is actually transpiring with this scent. Like I said, it applies extremely fruity and very much reminiscent of preserves. Fig preserves. That's what kind of it smells like to me. There's not any woodiness or anything else jumping out right away. You smell a ton of ripe, sweetened, dried fig, probably in some preserves with lots of sugar in it. You have vanilla as a background, and it's very, very prominent as well. But most of what you smell is really just very beefy fig. It's nice that it's juicy and it's very, very sweet. The saccharin or the sugar crystals are almost forming on the cut of the fruit. It's a little bit pickled. There is a certain moist sensation to it. I know people hate that word, but there is a certain wet component almost to it. I don't smell anything green, but the green might be sort of playing off the fig. I don't think so. I don't really smell much else in it, honestly. So the Pyramid was extremely interesting. I was really hoping for more orris, for maybe a more fleshy base. I was hoping that they're going to be, the citruses that are lifted are going to be lifting and are going to, you know, get away from that sensation of having something extremely sweet in your mouth. That sensation is here. So it's a little bit of a heavier fragrance. It is, it drags you down a little bit. It's quite sweet. So it applies like that. That's what it applies like. It applies like preserves. So that's why I would say that it is a gourmand going on powdery, but it really starts over as gourmand. And quite a heavy, thick one at that. I do think this is going to be a headache inducer. Another thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that the fig as a note can be a little bit tricky for a few people. Me included. Fig can be tricky for me, although I do like figs. I don't really love them when they're so sugared up. I do like sugared plums, but sugared figs are a little bit too cloying for me. I do like figs a little bit more green, a little bit more fresh, a little bit more reminiscent of the actual fruit, and not, you know, stuffed with pectin and saccharides, which is what I smell here. I think this is a likable scent. A lot of people are going to be into it, and I will go back and sort of group it in with some popular fragrances. You might get an idea. If you like those, then you might like this one. It wears into a pretty powdery, slightly wood-based scent. And again, getting back to why fig is a little bit difficult, there are a few ingredients out there, I'll list some of them, that can be tough to wear on skin because they do have this slight undertone of body odor. And if that stays as a slight undertone, as a hint, that can be quite piquant. It can be quite interesting. It can add to the fragrance like civet notes do. But the things that really have that undertone, of course, are fig. Patchouli can do that. Cloves can do that. Carnations can do that. There's certain flowers that can do that. Some yellow flowers as well, they can do that. And fig in here walks a very thin line. I think that will depend entirely on your skin. On my skin, the fig survives and it doesn't turn into a sweaty mess. But I imagine that maybe on oilier skin types or maybe certain skin chemistry can react with this and be horrifying because there is this slight hint, there is an idea of body odor kind of concealed within this fragrance, and I think it's intentional, but I do think that you have to be careful with that. You really definitely have to try that on because it can turn rancid on you. This one can, just because it is so heavily figged out and it's not a fresh one. It's one of those sweet cloying ones, so that can definitely happen. However, let's consider the option of where it doesn't turn rancid on you and it wears like it wears on me. It is a thick scent. but not a super complex one, I have to say. Much of what is in the pyramid of this particular fragrance gets lost on my nose, and I'm decent actually at isolating notes and recomposing or structuring the fragrance how it comes across in my mind. Here I don't see a lot of complexity. Here I do see that this can be pleasant and it can appeal to quite a few people. People who really like very sugary, syrupy fragrances, and there's a huge chunk of people out there who do. For me, it's not necessarily headache inducing, but it isn't pleasant for me. I don't love smelling something that smells like straight up caramel or sugar or whatever. And I do know that people really love it. So something like the Lancome's La Vie est Belle, if you enjoy the original very, very sweet C by Giorgio Armani Eau de Parfum, if you like the juicy couture sort of vibe with super sugared flowers, if you like that sort of thing, something really nice and thick and sweet, maybe the Black Opium people will like that as well. I think you should try it out and see if it sits well on your skin. But honestly, I think the majority of people who don't love the super heavy, very syrupy scents, or maybe who get headaches from them, or maybe people who feel like that's just way too much sugar and that I'm in that camp, I think that's too much sugar. Unfortunately, because I was very intrigued when I first picked it up and I tried it on my skin. I do sort of enjoy how it transforms itself into a bit of a powder with a fruity tint to it. I was expecting more. I was hoping that the Kilian that I know is going to come through. And the brand has some really sweet scents. Phantom that I mentioned earlier is extremely sweet. It's a very sweet scent, but it's so complex that there's something to go to, there's something to focus on, and it travels and it keeps itself interesting. Here I get just too much syrup. So honestly, a bit of a disappointment for me, but I do see who would like it, and I did mention what kind of, if you like the kind of scents that I'm talking about, like the flower bomb type, you might like this. Who do I imagine wearing it? Now, I do think that this scent has some sense of self-deprecating humor in it. I don't think it's trying to be something that it isn't. I don't think it's trying to be intellectualized or super sexy. I don't think that it is. I think sexiness is such a complex idea that this is just too simple. This is syrupy, this is figgy, this is not sexy, this is not intellectual or intelligent in any way, which is sad, and I was really hoping that it would be more humorous or more interesting or convey something else. But yes, I don't think that this is for people who do have large collections, who have a certain scent library already built up in their mind, who have experience with fragrances. I think people who have experience with fragrances and who aren't wearing the very, very sweet syrupy scents are going to be bored with this, as I am. Unfortunately, this bores me, which is sad coming from Kilian. And, you know, I would rather just dislike it altogether, but it isn't. It's kind of pleasant, but it's boring. It's boring, guys, which I did not expect from Kilian. You know, I expected at this point from like Yves Saint Laurent, I expected from the Lancome line. I expect that because that's what they've been coming up with. But Kilian, come on, they could have done a lot better. Even with a fig scent, it could have been a lot better. How about some salted caramel? How about some bitterness in it? Like, how about we diversify? Why do we have to just have a syrup in the bottle? Sad. But that's my personal feelings about it, and my expectations might have not been what you would have expected from it. So I don't think that my opinion is like the gospel here, no. But I honestly was expecting more. I was hoping for more, and I was disappointed with this scent. I don't think that it's worth the money. Your time, your nose, if you are sort of into more sophisticated highbrow scents, I don't think you will find this interesting. And it's not about the price point, really. I do think within this price point, $100 some, you can find extremely interesting scents. This is just not one of them. This is meant to sell. This is meant to sell bottles to people who really like sweeties. That's what it's meant to do, to me. I don't think there is this inherent sexiness in it, which I think they might have been attempting to do because that's what they named the fragrance. Let's settle this argument like adults in the bedroom naked. I'm assuming they were trying to make it sexy. Unfortunately, they did not succeed in that, in my opinion. Thick syrup is not sexy to me. There's no complexity to it. There's no innuendo. There's no any kind of thought process that this evokes. I don't think it's wearable to work. It's just far too sweet and suggestive, but not suggestive in a sexy date night, wink wink kind of way. It's just sort of not. It evokes a feeling of stickiness in me, which isn't sexy either. It's not appropriate to pick up your kids from school. It's not really appropriate for office. It's not really appropriate for anything but maybe evening time, wearing it at home, or maybe if you're a lover of very sweet fragrances, wearing it to like a date or out to a club. Yeah, this will do well in a sticky club for 20-somethings that aren't going to get a bottle of champagne at a table. They're going to get shots. These guys are getting shots at the bar. Maybe somebody else is paying for their shots. Maybe they're cute girls in short skirts who are getting their drinks bought for them for that night. Which, might I add, can be dangerous. So ladies, watch out when you're doing that. Take it directly from the bartender. Never take it from the guy who's buying it for you. But anyhow, this is kind of what this smells like. And it's unfortunate, and I'm a little bit upset with it. I don't even know if I want to finish the bottle, honestly. It takes a lot for me to not want to finish a bottle, but I just want to move on to something more interesting, honestly. And there are more interesting fragrances in the line. But since I've purchased this and people wanted me to review it, I wore this a bunch. I have about maybe 2/3 of this left in the bottle. And unfortunately, I can't recommend it. I can recommend it if you're a lover of sweetie sweets. But if you're a lover of sweetie sweets, you're probably not watching my channel because that's not what I review and that's not what I enjoy. So, for me, I mean, it's good quality. I can't say this is poor quality because it isn't. It's decent quality. It is boring, and I don't think it's worth a full bottle. So it's not full bottle worthy. I'm not purchasing it, and I am disappointed. Let me know what you thought if you tried it. Perhaps you had a very different experience from me. Perhaps you found facets of this fragrance that my nose was not able to pick out. But I would like to hear anyway, and maybe more than one opinion is always better. That's it for today. See you guys later. Have fun. Unfortunately, this was a very blah review. I didn't love the fragrance. I'm sad about it. I always want to love what I'm trying because I paid good money for it, guys. I did. So again, let me know what you think of it. That's it for today. See you later. Have a wonderful day. All the best to you. See ya. Bye-bye.